Hi, welcome everyone. Okay, we're going to get started now. And today is part two of the series that I'm calling Applying the Wisdom of Chinese Medicine. And part two is supporting mental health. So let me first introduce myself. So I'm Dr. Jeffrey Lee. I'm one of the naturopathic doctors at Brio, and I'm also a registered acupuncturist. So I also did my studies in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM. And I wanted to title this series "Applying the Wisdom of TCM" because I want to bring some of the important things that I've learned over the years in TCM and share that with you. My intention is to share with you over about 6 weeks, and this is going to be a six-part series. And my goal is to help you get some practical tips out of all of this so that you can use. And before I get started, I just want to say a big thank you to all of you viewers out there. I know you have been sharing this with your family and friends, and we really appreciate that. We are here to serve everyone during this stressful time. So I'm just very thankful that a lot of you have been sharing this message, and we hope to help as many people as possible. I also want to say a huge thank you to all the doctors at Brio. I know they've really stepped up over the past couple of weeks, and they've been working hard at generating content for all of you. So please interact with us if you have questions, if you have certain topics. Yeah, please reach out to us. We really want to be a service. So, okay, the goal for today, we're going to talk about ways of reducing stress as well as lifting up your mood. So, I will be talking about a Chinese herb, one that I really like using. One, we're going to talk about body expressions and body movement, why that matters. We're going to talk also about surrounding yourself with things that bring you joy, and we're going to talk about some ideas around that. And then number four is setting some boundaries. Okay, so those are the four things that we're going to cover today. And again, for those who are just joining us, welcome. And if you have any comments, please put them out there. And I've been told in my Facebook Lives that to make them a little bit more interactive. So please, if you have questions, feel free to just, if you need me to clarify something or ask it in a different way, or yeah, if you need me to say it in a different way, please do so. I've titled these Applying the Wisdom of Chinese Medicine over like a six-part series because my hope is that you can take at least one of these ideas and just make it actionable, make it practical. And in the summary that's on our website, I'm going to put a lot more questions down, and hopefully you can use it also as a journal for you. Yeah, and that this can be over the next 6 weeks. It can be something that can just transform your health there. Okay, let's do a quick recap from last week. Last week, we talked about immune system and immunity. So we talked about my favorite herb, the astragalus herb. Number two, we talked about eating multicolored foods and why that's so important in terms of antioxidants there. So, for example, like dark color foods like eggplant, blackberries, black mushrooms, green foods, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, dark leafy greens, red beet, bell peppers, red bell peppers, the white color foods, cauliflower, daikon radish, the maitake mushrooms, and onions. And then we talked about yellow and orange color foods, the carrots, the pumpkins, the squash. So all of those are antioxidants, and the pigments that we find in those foods are so important at many things, boosting the immune system, but it's also very important at detoxifying your body as well. And over the next few weeks, we're also going to get into more details about detoxification. So, I'm preparing something there as well, and maybe even guiding us all to do a detox together in real time. So, if that's something that you're interested in, please let me know. Share that in the comment section. And then the last thing that we talked about last week was how to detoxify your home as well. That is quite common in traditional Chinese medicine, especially around the springtime. And I gave some more maybe modern or some things that we can do here in the Lower Mainland, such as taking this time to clean out the mold, maybe the windowsills there. Even at nighttime, just unplugging your router, yeah, or put it on a timer or something like that, just to give your body a little bit of a break there. Okay, so today let's focus on mental health, reducing stress, and lifting up your mood. So let me start off with my kind of stress health assessment, and just think about these, and I will list a few more in the summary section. But my first question: has anyone told you recently that your temper or mood is getting out of hand? Number two, do you use food, alcohol, or pills to soothe your emotions? Number three, are you finding it hard to concentrate or remember things? Number four, are you grinding your teeth or noticing that you're clenching your jaw? While you're sleeping or during the day. And number five, do you have unusual cravings for sugar, sweets, and chocolate? So those questions are just there to help you think about, you might be doing some of these things and not realizing that, hey, the stress is mounting. So we've, over the past few weeks, several of us have shared about the impact of stress. We've talked about the whole fight or flight system that we have, and when you become extremely stressed, your body really, releases this adrenaline or stress hormones there, and it's really a survival mechanism, right? Because the adrenaline is there to help our heart start pumping more blood into our muscles. When our muscles have enough blood, it can work so much more efficiently, so we can run away, or we can get ready to fight there. The adrenaline also provides us with the energy that our body needs, again, to sort of react in a survival mode. But the problem is this survival switch, let's call it, it gets turned on just all the time. It just gets turned on every single day, several times a day. And this constant stress, or this constant release in adrenaline or cortisol, it really depletes our body's energy resources, to the point until things are starting to fail under this pressure. And I treat a lot of this in my practice, and for a number of my patients who'd be viewing this, you'll know that a lot of the overwhelming stress that accumulates, it leads to adrenal fatigue, exhaustion, nervous breakdown, and definitely like a compromised immune system. So prolonged stress definitely impacts the brain and the mind, and many of my patients know that is a real special interest of mine, just finding ways to up-level the brain and helping deal with this overwhelming stress on the nervous system and the brain. And again, that chemical imbalance in the brain ends up interfering with our focus, our concentration, our memory, and we end up feeling just the anxiety or that agitation. And then it becomes a real problem when it's just so difficult to calm down and just relax the mind, or just kind of turn that anxiety off there. And I just want to touch a little bit on just unhappiness. Unhappiness not only dampens your mood, but we know that it also negatively affects our health. We've all heard this before, and research supports this, that when we are depressed or unhappy, we do have higher outcomes of chronic disease, including heart disease, and also some studies show that cancer increases as well. I just want to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that I've been reading recently in the literature, and it's something that's called the negativity bias. And I'm going to talk about our brains again, and our brains are wired to attend and to really learn from negative experiences, and that more so than positive experiences. And it's just part of that whole survival mechanism that I've talked earlier. And I think if you can maybe think back at different memories, like a lot of the negative ones, the times where you felt, embarrassed or hurt or it was traumatic, you really have those in your memory. Of course, we also have positive memories, but it's really those negative ones that we tend to recall. And it's quite interesting in the research. It shows that this kind of negativity bias actually begins even in babies at that infant stage. They were able to measure that when babies or infants are hearing kind of angry voices or tones that are just more or that are louder, or it's just the way that it's either angry or fearful types of tones. It doesn't actually always have to be a louder tone, but the neural networks in the brains gets triggered and gets fired, more so than when they're hearing more soothing or more or calming, more sort of positive sounds, let's say. That negativity bias actually follows us into adulthood, and we know in research it shows that our brains actually react more to negative images. So I think the study showed like images of like dead animals, let's say, versus positive images like food or something. So it makes sense why the news, for example, we're just getting bombarded with the news right now, and how it is really quite negative, and it's that negativity that again sticks, and it involves our emotions, and that negative news ends up selling. We want to watch it more. But unfortunately, or the reason why I want to bring attention to that is because this negative bias, we have to be very careful that we don't we're not fixated on this, that we really, and you can probably all agree. I think people that are watching this right now, when you're watching the news right now, you just you come away from that just feeling a little bit more anxious, a little bit more fearful, and especially maybe the first couple of weeks. I know now that I'm talking to a few more people, they're like, okay, I've been tuning down the news. I just had enough of it. I can't watch it all day, and I think that's important. That's again a defense mechanism. So watch out for that negative bias there. Now, let's talk a little bit about how TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, really supports mental health and stress. I want to talk a little bit about one herb, the Schisandra herb. Sometimes it's called the five flavor berry. So the Schisandra herb is well known in traditional Chinese medicine. It's grown in parts of China as well as in parts of Russia. So it's used a lot in traditional medicines there, and it's used as a tonic. It actually builds up qi. It gives people a lot of energy. And in modern day herbal studies, we know that the Schisandra herb is an adaptogen. And an adaptogen, like I talked about last week, it really balances out our nervous system. It can calm the nervous system. It can, if we're weak, it can give us a little bit more energy there. It's actually also incredibly supportive for the liver and our detox mechanism. This is a very interesting herb, the five flavor berry. It's called five flavors because it really, when you start tasting it, it's you can actually go through the whole. You can taste like sour, bitter, pungent, a little bit of sweetness as well, and it's quite interesting that you can get that flavor profile from this berry. And it can be taken in a tincture form. It can be taken in a tea. And usually you what I do is you'll cook it for a little bit longer to get the medicinal properties there. So just steeping it with boiling water you may not be able to draw as much of the medicinal properties out of that. So that's the first thing that I just want to introduce, the Schisandra herb or berry there. Now, the next one I want to talk about, or next kind of health tip there is, and something that I've learned to do over the years is, this is called body expression or body movement and your emotions. And I want to take a moment just to talk a little bit about Chinese medicine in the West here. It's kind of all lumped together. People that practice Chinese medicine, they are, they know acupuncture, they know herbs, they know nutrition, they know, but in China, you're actually taught the different streams of medicine. Like, so when you go into Chinese medicine, you don't learn everything. You actually will specialize, let's say, in just herbal medicine. You'll either just specialize in acupuncture, or you'll specialize in something called Tui Na. Tui Na is body work. So massage, adjustments there. That's under the body work track there. And I I just wanted to differentiate that, but I did my studies down in Seattle, and in how we learn Chinese medicine in the West here is we learn little bits of all three tracks there, and then when you graduate, it's whatever you're really interested or passionate about. You'll go and do a lot more further studies into that area. But I just wanted to, when I was a student, I loved the acupuncture tract, and that's actually what I ended up doing my master's training in, is in acupuncture. But I also really enjoyed learning about body work, and I wanted to share with you a little bit more about, just learning about the body work. I had to take a lot of courses in Tai Chi and Qigong and different types of breathing. And I learned a lot in understanding how powerful body movement is. And actually, maybe fast forward to the research now that supports what I was learning when I was a student, is we know how powerful movement is to supporting the brain. So going back to the point here is body expression and emotions is very important at helping your mental health. And we're discovering that more and more right now. And I'll take a quick tangent right now. The part of the brain called the hippocampus. This is the area where we learning centers are. This is where our memory is stored, and we're discovering that we actually can. We're actually discovering that we can build new brain cells. Now, when I was in medical school 20 years ago, we didn't know that existed. We thought that once you're born with your neurons, and as a baby, you'll start developing them, but into adulthood, you don't build any more new brain cells. But in the hippocampus area, we do. And one of the really key things that affects the ability to learn is actually involving a lot of movement as well. And when I say movement, I'm referring to exercise, but also I'm talking about different types of movements there. And my point in this section is talking about, like, how when somebody celebrates a victory, they're celebrating, and this kind of body movement is actually quite powerful to communicate to the brain. We're actually, rewiring parts of the brain, because this kind of victory posture really sends this message in our nervous system to, hey, pay attention. Like, this is a good, powerful, uplifting posture, and we're happy right now. And so that actually, movement can really rewire the brain. And that's actually the take home message there. And I wanted to I guess the most of the time when we're talking about how to, we're taught about, think positive, and focus on just the positivity of things. And it's like think to be able to improve your mental health there. But I'm making the argument, and a lot of the new science is really supporting that. Not only is it just the positive mindset and and thinking positive, but also that positive position, the positive expression of emotions and body movement. That's also very vital at mental health there. So my recommendation is to do some, daily, what I'm trying to do every day at the end of my day. I take a recap of what I've been through that day, and I'm just celebrating. Sometimes I'll pat myself on the back. I know that sounds really silly, but no, I think I have a lot of tasks on my list, and it's really important that I get a lot of these things done in a timely fashion. So a lot of times I'll just give myself some encouragement. I'll do a victory pose, and that actually is very stimulating. It helps create good neurotransmitters. It kind of locks that in, and I really look forward to that every day when I kind of check off my to-do list there. So that second tip is called the body expression and how it affects emotions there. Number 3 is surround yourself with things that bring you joy, and do that every day. And in Chinese medicine, going through my training, I was just I was really in awe of how it talks a lot about nature and beauty. And examples of things that bring me joy is I surround myself with pictures of my kids and my family. For my patients who've seen me, I've got my mug at work where I've got the picture of my girls there. So I'm surrounding myself with things that just remind me of things to be joyful or happy. Another thing is colors. Colors is very, very powerful at uplifting the mood there. So dressing in brighter colors there, or surrounding yourself with artwork with more colors. Next, we know that music is incredibly uplifting. So having a time where you can play some music, and it could be music that could be, of a higher, a beat that's more uplifting, or you can have more relaxing music there. Chinese medicine talks a lot about the beauty of nature, flowers, the trees out there. You see all the beautiful calligraphy of their trees, as well as the animals there. So surrounding yourself with that, and one of my favorite pictures in the office is I've got this big picture of the forest right in my office, and it's a giant picture there. And sometimes I'll just stare at it for a few minutes, and it just reminds me of nature. I love to camp, and I just love being in nature. So that's just a good reminder. And when I look at it, it does definitely relax my mood and my heart rate. It's quite powerful. And I think TCM, or Chinese medicine, they figured this out thousands of years ago, that these things, when you surround yourself with like beauty and color and nature, you have this resonance, or this frequency that really calms you down. And I love reading about the when I jump into my Chinese medicine textbooks there, and that's actually a constant reminder of how important the beauty of nature is. And yeah, when you get into more of like the deeper meditations, it really starts talking about frequency and resonance there. So my tip number 3 here is really capture some of that beauty around you. Put artwork, put pictures, surround yourself with nice music there, and to again uplift your mood. And to me, this is when I first learned of this, I didn't really take it as seriously, and I think partly is because I was like, oh, that's just obvious, or that's too simple there. But I realize as I'm maturing, I'm whatever's in front of me, that's kind of what I focus on, right? That's what I put more attention to. And that's why it's important that I have photos of my family and photos of the people that I care about that's around me. Because, if sometimes, I'm working on a project or I'm doing a lot of heavy studying and I just kind of sit back and I'm just taking a breather. And as soon as I see a photo of something that makes me happy, it just puts me into this nice frame of mind there. So that's number 3. And number 4, I kind of added this in a little bit last minute. And it's because this is something that I'm working on, and I'm calling this setting boundaries. So I'm the kind of person that, I find myself, I like to be a helpful person. And so I'm kind of the yes guy. And if somebody needs help, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to help you there. And sure enough, my schedule just completely fills up. And I find that sometimes I get quite overwhelmed there. So I am learning how to set boundaries and respectfully say no, and to, cut back on certain commitments there, and be so much more intentional in my calendar to, insert time for myself. So not only am I doing sort of a daily kind of meditation and daily just kind of checking in with myself, but I'm also trying to do that like consistently on a weekly basis there. And I think that would be very helpful for a lot of people, that especially where a lot of us are out of a routine right now during this time. And by the way, I did do a talk on, the power of habits and routine. And Dr. Vanessa did a talk on, goal setting. And I really encourage you to watch those if you haven't there. Because, yeah, as we've been, out of our routine, we're finding that a lot of us are sleeping late and waking up late, and we're just kind of a little bit out of balance. But by setting boundaries, you can be so much more intentional with your commitments there. And then on the flip side, when I say setting boundaries, so I'm the kind of person that's finding ways of respectfully saying no to certain things. But I think setting boundaries is the other way. It's like, if as you work on your health and as you get to know yourself more, you might realize that, hey, I'm a type of person that I need to touch base with people. And right now I'm at home and I'm feeling awfully lonely. Make that, like, be intentional at scheduling time to, Thursday night, I'm going to meet with this group of friends there. I'm just going to, or meet with this one person there via video conferencing or something like that. Like, set the boundaries, be intentional at that. And I think that will really help with your mental health. And that's something that I'm just working hard at doing. So those are the things that I want to share with you today. In summary, again, I talked about the Schisandra herb. I talked about body expressions and body movement and how that matters there. I talked about surrounding yourself with things that bring you joy. So that's beauty, that's music there. And I talked about setting boundaries there. So my challenge to you is pick one of these. Just pick one of them and try to commit to doing it regularly. Do it, per week, or once a day every week. And I'm hoping that you can pick one healthy habit from each of my little talks there. So last week I talked about immunity and immune health. This week we talked about mental health. I think next week I'm talking about energy and how to boost energy there. So yeah, please take one of these habits and adopt it. And hopefully together in 6 weeks, we can again up-level our health there. And check please check the summary there. And again, if you find this helpful, please share this with your friends and family. Again, I always enjoy chatting with you all, and again, please reach out to us if you need any help there, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you.